Hey everybody, it's Chris Jesty, just in time for a little Christmas miracle. I know it's been a long time since I've put out a YouTube video, but I think it's about time I get back in the swing of things. And in order to do that, we're going to be covering the mech lists that have been submitted for Cameron Heat, the upcoming event in January for MRC. Now, this event is going to be a little bit different, where you submit a list, but you don't play your own list. Other players are going to be bidding on your list. And personally, I'm out to find the lists other people don't want to play, so I can play those and play on hard mode, kind of, more honor to the lowest bidder, as a clanner would say. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. First up, we've got Mech Warrior Lincoln with a Taurian Concordat list. And we're going to go mech by mech, unit by unit. Yes, this might take a while, so we're only going to start off with the four lists, the top four lists on Sam's list of lists that have been submitted. I said list a lot. Okay, the first mech up is the Rampage RMP-4G. This bad boy is an 85 tonner coming in at 2,343 battle value at 4/4 skill level right now. It's got a 4/6 movement profile, up to 8 with mask, at 340 XL engine and 20 total heat sinks off of 10 doubles. This is rolled as a sniper, so we'll see what kind of weapons we have on this bad boy. It's well armored in the center torso, fairly decently on the right and left torsos as well, and the arms are equally as armored as the torsos, which is interesting. And I can see why now that the weapons have come into view. The Gauss rifle right there in that left arm is a liability. You don't want that going up and giving yourself 2 pilot damage. That's not okay. But a Gauss rifle is a very solid sniper weapon, and it is going to be scary in this era. There aren't going to be too many dedicated sniper platforms like this out there. So this is a nice find, especially on a Taurian list. It's also got an LB-10X AC, a flamer in the left torso, a medium laser in the right torso, along with an AMS system, and a large pulse laser in the center torso. You do have 2 tons of ammo to go for that Gauss rifle, and we all know MRC rounds, or MRC matches, I should say, only last 15 turns. And with 16 shots, you have enough ammo to fire that thing every turn and not worry about it. And you've also got 2 tons for the LB-10, so you can bring cluster and slug and not feel bad about missing out on that -1 and crit seeking capability if you end up needing it. Which, with the Gauss rifle can opening, you may want to bring cluster to crit fish once you're done opening up their armor. And you also have, of course, a ton of AMS in the right torso. So since most of the explodey things are in the right torso, along with the mask, that's weird. And there is no case on this. So if the ammo goes up, that's it for the mech, because there is an XL engine. That's one thing to note. So, and the ammo is located in that right torso, so that could be a weakness of this mech. If you do end up playing or taking this list, might want to protect that right side a little bit more. Just something to watch out for. But all in all, it's a solid sniper mech between the Gauss rifle, the large pulse laser, and the LB-10. Not a lot of brawling capability. I mean, it is an 85 tonner, so you don't want to get into melee with it if you're anything that's not 85 tons or more, because it's going to give you a whooping with that for piloting. But between, 1 and 9 hexes, there's not really much to be scared of. There's only that 1 medium laser and a bitty little flamer, which isn't going to do all that much to deter people from closing the gap on this thing. It does have a lot of armor, so I don't expect a backstabber to be able to deal with this in a timely manner. Speaking of backstabbers, outside of the Gauss rifle and the LB-10 and the arms, there's nothing that can really prevent anybody from getting in your rear. And if they're going to torso twist and shoot that Gauss rifle at you at point blank, I mean, you're already winning there, because they're going to get a -2 for the point blank range minimum on that Gauss rifle. The LB10, though, on the other hand, there is no such penalty for that, so do keep an eye out for that. Next up is a mech that really needs no introduction or review. It's the Marauder 1R. This is the classic original Marauder, but we're going to do it anyway, just for completion's sake. It's coming in at a 3-4 profile at 1,874 battle value, which isn't terrible for this era, honestly. It's a 75 tonner, as we all know and love. It's got a 300 rated fusion engine with a 4.6 movement profile. That is a standard engine, and it's only got 16 standard heat sinks. These are not doubles, so you're only sinking that 16 heat at most every turn with a standard gyro and cockpit. Nothing out of the ordinary here. It's only got 197 out of 231 armor, so a little less armor than the Rampage, but not by all that much when you look at the torso armor and then the arm armor. And the arms are a little bit more armored than the torso, surprisingly. 21 in the torsos and 22 in the arms. Interesting. It does have a PPC and medium laser in each arm. So that's the dual PPCs for you, getting up to 20 heat while you're only sinking 16. That's if you don't walk. You also have the AC5, which is a solid choice. You do not have more than 1 ton. So whatever you take for that ton, if you're taking special ammo or if you're bringing precision, if it even exists in this era, which I don't think it does. So you're probably just bringing standard slug or maybe even armor piercing. You will only have that 1 ton to work with. And if you cut that ammo in half, you're down to 10 shots. So just watch out for that. And it also does have case in the right torso to cover that AC5 ammo. And since it is a standard fusion engine, the case will actually do something and keep the mech alive if it does go up. So that's a positive. That's a bonus for the mech. Solid. You can't really complain about a Marauder. Next up is the Locust 1V, coming in at 20 tons with an 812 movement profile. It's got 10 standard heat sinks, 64 out of 69 armor for a small little 20 tonner bugger. It's got the standard Locust 812 movement profile that we all know and love, and it's only got 2 machine guns, 1 in each arm, and a medium laser for weaponry. And it does have a full ton of machine gun ammo, which maybe you would have liked to see them drop half that down to half and squeeze another machine gun in there or something. But it is what it is. This is the bog standard. Doesn't get any cheaper than this Locust 1V. It's 432 battle value, coming in at 4.5. So this is literally a medium laser on legs. I mean, you do have the 2 machine guns, of course, but it's going to be your objective runner. I'm not expecting much out of this, but it's also, you're not investing much into it. So, I mean, fair. Next up is arguably a worse mech, the Stinger 3G, STG-3G. So this is also a 20 tonner, coming in at 497. So a little bit more expensive than the Locust 1V, but it's only got a 696 movement profile, so it can't even generate up to that +4 TMM. You're at most ever going to hit +3, even if you flat run for 9. It's got, of course, 10 heat sinks. It's got 64 out of 69 armor, standard, and it's got 2 medium lasers. So you do have a little bit more firepower than the Locust, but you are giving up some of that speed. And TMM, which when you're this small, TMM is survivability. I expect the Stinger to die before the Locust, unless you're jumping into woods every single turn. Not much to write home about. I mean, can't really complain. It's a Locust. I mean, it's a Stinger. You've got enough heat sinks to jump and fire your 2 medium lasers. So, well, not even if you jump for 6. That's 3. Yeah, you have enough to fire. Yeah, no, you don't even have enough to fire both medium lasers and jump every turn. So one thing to keep in mind, you gotta watch out for that. Jumping for 6 will generate 6 heat, and you only have 10 heat sinks. But, I mean, it is only less than 500 battle value, so I'm not expecting much out of it. Next up is the Archer ARC-2R. This is a 70-tonner coming in at 4.6 movement profile. See a theme here for these big boys. It's got a 280 standard fusion engine and only 10 heat sinks. Ugh, don't like that. It's got 208 out of 217 armor, so it's a little bit lighter than the Marauder, but a little bit more armored, ever so slightly. And it does have more armor on the torsos than the Marauder does, and than the arms do. It's got 2 medium lasers facing forward, 1 in each arm, 2 medium lasers in the center torso facing the rear, and 2 LRM-20s, which you've only got 10 heat sinks standard, and you've got 2 LRM-20s that each generate 6 heat. So standing still, you're going to be overheating by 2 if you fire those LRM-20s every turn. So you're going to have to watch your heat with this one. It's not efficient, but it's not even that cheap either. It is a 3.4 and it's at 1950 battle value. So I don't know. I'm not a fan of this original Archer because it's so undersunk. And I think this is going to be a bit of a liability, honestly. But you never know. Those medium lasers could come in clutch. I mean, it is a solid brawler at 70 tons. You don't want to get too close to it. And you don't want to stay too far away from it because those LRM-20s do hurt. And you do have 4 tons of ammo, so you can't quite fire them every turn. But you can fire them every turn -3. So, I mean, the first couple turns, usually there's no firing anyway, just because the maps are going to be so big. So it's not really that much of a concern to be running out of ammo. Especially in this era, more than likely the ammo is going to go up and you're going to lose the whole mech because there is no case. And the ammo is in both side torsos. So yeah, either torso could become a Roman candle and doom the mech. So the survivability, yes, it does have a lot of armor, but as soon as you penetrate either of the side torsos, and the first crit there is basically going to destroy the mech because there is the LRM-20s themselves that are in those slots, but there's also 2 tons of ammo. So there's a chance you can take out the mech. I'm not a fan of this Archer. Moving on, the last unit on this list is a Zephyr hover tank coming in at 40 tons. I think this is at 4.5. Yeah, there we go, 4.5. So bog standard, 904 battle value. It's a 914 hover movement, which is solid. That's decently quick. It's faster than your Locust and Stinger for sure. And it's heavier than them too, surprisingly, at 40 tons. What do you know? It's got an SRM-6 front mounted, a small laser rear mounted from the looks of it, and then 3 medium lasers in a turret along with tag. Okay, there we go. Now I don't feel as bad as about the Archer when you've got tag here in this Zephyr hover tank. Landing the tag will make it so that the Archer can contribute a little easier with those LRMs from long range, especially indirect fire. So that's a little bit better, and it does have 2 tons of ammo for that SRM-6. Good lord, that seems to be a little bit overkill, but whatever. So that's 30 turns, which is more than double what you need for an MRC match. So this thing can go the distance for sure. If losing a ton didn't blow up the vehicle, then you could sacrifice a ton or dump a ton. But I don't think that's really going to make that much of a difference. Once you go internal, it does have a decent bit of armor, but once you start taking motive hits on a hovercraft, they tend to not last very long. And it also has a Guardian ECM suite, which is not nothing. It may come up in some of the missions, you never know. So it's always nice to have ECM and probe if possible. Okay, let's take a look at the list overall. Decent sniper in the Rampage, another decent sniper in the Marauder, an okay sniper in the Archer, I guess, And then you've got the Locust, Stinger, and the Zephyr all running objectives, with arguably the Zephyr being the most dangerous of the other two, or of the other three mechs. So I would say this list is solid. I'm a little worried that you don't have the staying power earlier on in the match with the Locust, Stinger, and Zephyr. The Zephyr is fine and tanky, but the Locust and Stinger are not. And usually these maps don't have that much cover on them. There's a lot of wide open spaces and a lot of running lines. So you're just going to be running with zero cover, relying on your TMM for multiple turns in a row, getting to objectives. And the 4-6 on the heavy units means that they're not going to be able to catch up and sit on objectives that are in the middle of the map anytime soon. So you have to rely on the Locust, the Stinger, and that Zephyr to do the heavy lifting until far later into the game, once the Rampage or the Marauder can close the gap. It is a good list, though. There are plenty of maps where you don't even want to move closer with the Rampage, Marauder, or Archer, because once you get to an objective, you can just sit there and then lob fire downrange perfectly fine. So the list is definitely viable. The Stinger, the Locust, and Zephyr are fast enough to contest objectives early. The Stinger isn't, but it is still there as backup and objective running. So I can't complain. I like it. It's an interesting list. The Rampage is going to be a nice unit that we don't really get to see out of this era. And I have a feeling it's going to show up again later on in this video. Oh, hey, what do you know? I can already see one down here. That does it for Lincoln's list. I don't think I'm going to vote on this one because I think this one is going to get votes for sure. Next up, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. It's going to be Wolvowl coming in with a Star League Royal list. And as you can see, his mechs are in Star League Royal colors. Funny, I actually prepped for once. So first mech on this list is a Nightstar NSR-9J, coming in at 3-4 and costing 3,167 battle value. Ooh boy, this is a spicy meatball. Just what is on this Nightstar, you ask? Well, it's a 95-ton assault mech coming in at 3-5 movement profile. So you're not getting anywhere in a hurry, but you don't really have to. It's got 28 total heat sinks, 14 doubles, and it's max armor for its tonnage, 293 out of 293 armor. This thing is not going anywhere anytime soon, and it's got a Gauss rifle and a medium pulse laser in each arm. And it's also got an ERPPC in the right torso and an emotional support small laser in the head. And you have far more than enough Gauss rifle ammo to go the distance. You could actually lose 2 tons of Gauss rifle ammo, 3 tons, because there's an extra ton of the torso in the center torso. Good Lord. So you could dump 3 tons of Gauss rifle ammo or get 3 tons critted out and still have enough to fire both of those Gauss rifles every single turn. So that's a decent amount of crit padding with that Gauss rifle ammo. That is not bad. One thing to note, there is no case, and the only ammo, or the only things that can blow up, are the Gauss rifles. So it's not really going to save you anything, so you don't really need it. But the Gauss rifle explosions will not be stopped or will not be contained in the arms if they do explode. They will transfer the torsos. This thing is disgusting. 50 center torso armor. Yeah, that's right. 50. 50, and then 32 on each of the torsos and each arm. You're not winning a gunfight against this thing. unless you have your own Night Star. I mean, even if you do connect with the Gauss rifle or an ERPPC or PPC or something a couple times, this thing's out shooting you at 3-4 for the most part, unless you're bringing a 2-3 gunnery, which generally speaking, most people don't because it's prohibitively expensive. This is going to be the king of sniper battles on any match it goes in, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the 2 medium pulse lasers are also scary. They're going to help you deal with pesky jumpers that get too close. Like a locust that closes the gap is just going to get eviscerated by this thing. And it's got an ERPPC to boot. You could fire everything, I'm pretty sure, and still not generate any heat. 15, 19, 20, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, you're at 26 heat. This thing is perfectly sunk if you walk and fire everything. I mean, you have a small laser, so you're never going to fire everything, unless something's in point blank. But good Lord, this is the definition of an anchor. And I think I've spent enough time drooling over it. I am already going to come out and say I'm not putting any votes on this list just because that Night Star is too disgusting. Or any bids, I should say. Next up is the Spectre SPR-4F. It's a 35 tonner coming in at 711.7 movement profile. It's 1,616 battle value at, what skill is this? 3-4 as well. Ooh, man, these guys are clanner level. It's got a 245 XL engine and 20 total heat sinks, 10 doubles. It's got max armor, 119 out of 119, which isn't bad. And it's got 2 medium lasers and a large laser. That's not a terrible weapons loadout, especially when you're considering you're jumping for 7. And if that weren't enough for you, jumping for 7, having 2 medium lasers and a large laser, the 2 mediums are both in the left arm and the large is in the right arm. You also have Chameleon light polarization shield and a null sig system, which I'm pretty sure give you bonuses to TMM outside of short range, and they stack. And you've also got a Guardian ECM, which I think you may need in order for the null sig to work or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head. All I know is that this thing is going to be disgustingly hard to hit, especially from longer ranges, because of those 2 systems. I don't know if they stack or if they work hand in hand, but this is a disgusting mech. And it's not cheap for how durable it is, but it is fast enough to keep itself alive with that pesky 711.7 movement profile. Jumping for 7 every turn is what you're going to be doing, more than likely, unless you're flat running for 11. Yeah, this is a disgusting mech. It's not that dangerous, but it's gonna be hell on wheels to anything that's lighter than it. Like, this will eviscerate a locust or a stinger or anything else that we've looked at that's light. Next up is a Mongoose MON-66B. So this is the royal variant of the Mongoose due to that little B designator. It's a 25 tonner, also coming in at 3-4 at 1,233 battle value, 812 movement profile, 200 XL, 20 heat sinks, 10 doubles, 89 out of 89 armor. So you're maxed out there again. This thing is a locust, but better. It's got 2 medium lasers, an ER large laser in the CT, and a small laser. Those medium lasers, there's 1 in each arm, and an active probe. That active probe is actually very, very big, and it's why I think we'll be seeing this Mongoose pop up quite a bit in these lists, at least a couple times, if not like on a regular basis. It's either going to be a toss-up between this Mongoose and the Oscout, and they're both pretty interchangeable, the main difference being that the Oscout jumps, the Mongoose does not. But this is another fast, scary mech, like any other Locust or that Stinger that we talked about earlier, does not want to run into this in a dark alley. This is going to take him out and then some, because it's got those double heat sinks, the ER large, and the 2 mediums. This is another disgusting objective runner. Between this and the Spectre, you can start really threatening some of those larger mechs. Next up, we have the venerable, lovable Crab CRB-27 Little B, the Royal Crab. Doesn't get much more crabby than this, unless you're a King Crab, Royal variant. Of course, the Crab is a 50-tonner. It's coming in at 1727 battle value at 3/4. It's got a 5/8 movement profile that we all know and love, which I thought it used to be 6/9. Maybe the Royal is a little bit slower. And it's also got 32 heat sinks, 16 doubles. Coming in almost maxed armor at 161 at 169. That's a solid amount of armor for a 50-tonner. It's got 2 ER large lasers, a medium laser, and a small laser. So almost your standard Crab loadout, I would say, except those ER larges generate a little bit more heat, and you've got those double heat sinks to back it up. This is a solid energy boat. I mean, it's not that tanky, it's not that fast, but with 2 ER larges, it doesn't have to be. You can just stay at your standoff distance and poke away. This is a solid little backup sniper to go along with that disgusting Night Star. You don't need it to run objectives. You've already got the Mongoose and the Spectre. This is just to help the Night Star cover ground. And last and definitely least, we have a Gabriel Reconnaissance Hovercraft, coming in at a whopping 5 tons and taking up 238 battle value at 4/3 skill level, helping out with those piloting checks. This thing is literally like a Savannah Master. It's got 17 armor, so 5 armor in the front and then 3 everywhere else, and a medium laser in a turret. This is your old school Savannah Master, and it's not bad for 238 battle value, honestly, because the movement profile is 1320. Yeah, you heard that right. So standard movement of 13 hexes, and then if you flank, you move up to 20. So this thing can definitely close the gap in a hurry. You can get on objectives likely turn 1 easily, but you take any hits from anything and you're pretty much keeling over right then and there. I mean, you could survive 1 medium laser to the front armor, but that's about it. A medium laser hits you anywhere else and this thing is done. So speed is definitely your friend there, and you're going to want to be using all 20 of that hover movement to get that TMM up. I like it. It's cheap and it's a solid objective runner. Now, the list overall, you've got 2 snipers between the Crab and the Night Star. You've got 2 objective runners between the Spectre and the Mongoose, and you've got 3 technically with the Gabriel Reconnaissance Hovercraft. Now, though, you can't hold any ground with that Gabriel. You can't leave that Gabriel sitting still for a turn. You sit it still for a turn, it's dead. It's got to be moving every single turn. Same with the Mongoose. The Spectre, on the other hand, has the stealthy tech stuff, the Chameleon and the Null Sig system. So you're likely able to sit it still and then actually hold an objective with it. But that Night Star ain't going nowhere in a hurry. And the Crab's not exactly a speedster itself, but it can move up the map at a decent pace at 5.8 in this era. So I think it's a solid, very scary list, mainly due to that Night Star. If you're playing this list, you kind of have it on easy mode, I would say. The Night Star is real good. It's going to do a lot of heavy lifting for you. And if you're playing against it, killing that Night Star doesn't really stop the list from functioning. Yes, the Night Star is a nice solid anchor, but the Spectre and Mongoose are still going to be running objectives and being nuisances on you. The Crab can still poke you from far away, and that Gabriel Reconnaissance Hovercraft is likely going to give them an early turn 1 lead on objectives. There's not much you can do about it if you're not also running a 20 hex movement unit, which I highly doubt most lists are going to be bringing. So this one is not going to be seeing any bids from me just because it's such a scary, disgusting list. I like it. I would run this. I would run that Night Star in a heartbeat, even in later eras. But yeah, well put together list there, Wolf Owl. Alrighty then, moving on is the Coolant Pod's very own Tweezer, coming in with a RimWorlds Republic Terran Corps list. So the Terran Corps are essentially equivalent to Star League Royal, if I'm not mistaken. So expect to see some nasty little tech surprises here and there. First up is a Rampage RMP-5G. So this is a different Rampage from the one we saw earlier. It's still 85 tons. It's still moving at 468 with mask. It's still got a 340 XL. It's got 26 total heat sinks, 13 doubles, 256 out of 263 armor. Very solid. And it's got an LRM-10 in the left arm, an LB-10 in the right arm. Oh, hey, we're keeping that from the other Rampage. A medium laser in the left torso, a flamer in the left torso. We're hanging on to that flamer, I see. Emotional support flamer, and 3 Streak SRM-2s in the left torso. Okay, that's definitely a brawler. Another medium laser, this one in the right torso, and a large pulse laser in the CT. So you're essentially dropping the Gauss rifle for the LRM-10 and 3 Streak 2s. You're maintaining the AMS in the right torso. So you're turning it into a brawler, or more brawling friendly, not really a brawler, because you do have that LRM there as well. It's a different take for sure. You do have Artemis 4 on that LRM-10, which is nice. And you have 50 shots on those Streak 2s. So if you do get within 9 hexes for those Streak 2s, you may as well fire them every single turn, because you've got enough ammo to go the distance. And if you miss, it doesn't use any. And you've got 12 turns of firing with that LRM-10, so I would say fire that every turn too, just so you burn through the ammo and you have one less thing that can go boom. Because you do not have case on this mech. So both torsos do have things that can go boom and kill the mech. And you do have 2 tons of the LB-10, so that's good. And of course, 1 ton of AMS ammo in the right torso. The Artemis 4 is nice. As we've seen in some other lists, there is some ECM that can cancel that Artemis out. But in the cases where it does function, it's nice to have that +2 to get more damage out of your lerms, as they call it. And of course, mask in the right torso. A solid 85 tonner. I mean, it's decently quick. Being able to run up to 8 hexes with mask on, so every other turn I would consider it an 4-8 mech. So not bad. I mean, I don't think I would run this one over the one with the Gauss rifle. Then again, this one is also significantly cheaper, coming in at 4.4 at only 2,126 battle value. So the other one was 2,343 at 4.4. So you're really not saving that much. So this Rampage, honestly, kind of a downgrade. Missing out on that Gauss rifle is pretty huge, but still not a bad mech. I would still not be sad if I had that on my list. Next up is the Dragoon AEM-01. This is a 70 tonner coming in at 1836 battle value at 4/4 skill. This thing has a 4/6/3 movement profile, so they couldn't fit that extra jump jet in there, eh? 280 XL and 11 double heat sinks for a total of 22 heat sinking. It's got 206 out of 217 armor, so solidly armored for a 70 tonner. This is basically equivalent to an archer, but the weapons loadout is a little more modest. It's got 2 LB-10Xs, one in each arm, and an ERPPC, also in the right arm. And that's it. Nothing else. No lasers, no emotional support flamer or small laser or anything like that. That's it. You have 3 weapons, 2 LB-10s and an ERPPC, and you've got enough sinks and then some to fire everything. The LB-10Xs do have 3 tons of ammo, so you do have enough to mix and match cluster with solid slug and shoot both of these every single turn. So there's no reason to hold back with this thing. Fire that ERPPC and those 2 LB-10s every turn, even if your numbers aren't very good. And it's also got a Guardian ECM to boot, so that's solid. I like this. It's only 1836 for a 70 tonner, and it's a dedicated fire support mech. Not bad. I think I like this better than that other fire support mech we were looking at. I mean, you're still not going to win a duel against that Night Star that we discussed earlier, but I'd much rather take this Dragoon over a Marauder for a dedicated fire support. You've got the heat sinks to fire everything every turn. Solid mech. Next up on the list is a Kanga medium hover tank. This thing is interesting. So it's a 50 tonner coming in at 902 battle value. I think he didn't skill this one down at all. Oh wait, he did. It's a 4/3. So he went down to 4/3 for this for a very specific reason. And that's because the movement profile of this bad boy is 8-12-6. Yes, that is a jump movement. Yes, this is a hover tank. Yes, it can jump. No, we don't know why somebody decided to make a jumping hover tank. Yes, we still think it's cool. So the only thing I don't like about this is that all the weapons are locked front mounted. So it's going to be easy to kind of get into the sides of this thing. Well, easier said than done. This thing can jump for 6 and moves at an 8-12 movement profile naturally. So good luck outpacing it with anything that's not a light mech. It's got an AC-5, an LRM-10, an SRM-4, and a machine gun. So not a bad hodgepodge of weapons there. You got missiles, cannon, and gun. And you've got enough ammo for all of them except the LRM-10 to go a full 15 turn match without running out of ammo. The LRM-10 only has 1 ton, so you do have 12 turns of ammo for that thing. But I highly doubt you'll be firing it every turn just because the first couple turns are usually out of range anyway, or the numbers are so bad it's not worth firing. So it's not, essentially, you have enough to go the distance for pretty much all these weapons, and you do have 20 shots for that AC-5. So if precision or maybe armor piercing, if you like to live a little dangerously, would be viable for this. Not bad. Not bad at all for a jumping hover tank. I like it. Next up is a Harrier hover tank. I don't think this one jumps. This is a 50 tonner coming in at 869 battle value and a 10-15 movement profile. No jump there. It's got 88 armor, so decently armored. 30 in the front, 20 on the sides, 18 in the rear. It also has a large laser, an SRM-6, and a medium laser, with the large laser and the SRM-6 locked to the front arc, and the medium laser locked to the rear, which is strange. But whatever, at least you've got something to poke any backstabbers with, and it does have 1 ton of SRM-6 ammo, which is enough to go the distance. Not a bad little hover tank. It's got a scary little punch and short range, and of course it's a tank, so you can fire everything every turn. not have to worry about it. So definitely a deadly little hover tank that's very quick, honestly. This thing is solid. 88 armor, which is more than a light mech, and 10-15 movement profile with more weapons than any of the light mechs we've seen so far. Or more dangerous weapons at that. With that large laser, SRM6, and medium laser. Hell yeah. Yes, please. It is a little pricey at $869, considering it is decently fragile as a hover tank. So you get hit and that's pretty much all she wrote. But it's still dangerous. Next up is a Beagle Scout hover tank. Or Beagle Hover Scout, I should say. This thing comes in at 15 tons, 402 battle value. So we're in the Locust/Stinger era, their range of battle value there. It's got a 12-18 movement profile. Ooh, so nice and very fast. You can get onto objectives likely turn 1 with this thing, if not at latest turn 2. It's only got 53 armor, which isn't that much, but it's enough to cover itself from a medium laser or 2 on all locations. And it's also got a small laser and a front-mounted small laser, and a medium laser in a turret. When a Beagle active probe that's also in the turret for some reason. Don't you think you'd rather have the probe front mounted and the small laser turret mounted? Whatever. I just work here. But yeah, another fast, cheap objective grabber. That 18 sprint, or not sprint, flanking movement profile is solid. You can definitely get to objectives in a hurry. And last and definitely not least is the Alicorn Heavy Tank Mark 6. Ooh, okay, we all know what an Alicorn is, and if you don't, you're about to find out. This thing is a 95-ton tank. It does have treads. It is tracked. It is 1,850 battle value. This one, I think, is at 4.5. Yep. So this is the stock out of the box. You're not paying for any piloting skills here. It's got 208 armor. So a good amount for a tank. Because you have 40 in the sides, 50 in the front, 28 in the rear, and another 50 on the turret. And in that turret, you've got not 1, not 2, but 3 Gauss rifles, all in the turret. The only shortcoming is you've only got 5 tons of ammo with those Gauss rifles. Okay, so you can fire all 3 of these Gauss rifles for about 13 turns and some change. So by the time you run out of ammo, hopefully whatever you've been shooting at has been destroyed. This is probably one of the only other units that's going to be kind of able to trade blows with the Night Star and not feel too bad about it. Yes, the Night Star has like 100 armor on you, but the Night Star can also fall. You can't. So that's something to watch out for. And if you double tap them with Gauss rifles, that's a PSR. If he double taps you with Gauss rifles, that's half of your side or half of your front armor. That's still not good, but you definitely are going to put some threat out there with this to a very long range. Wherever you park this, because you're definitely not going to be wanting to drive around at 3.5. So you get this onto an objective on your side of the map, or a nice little sniper perch on your side of the map, preferably a nice little hill with a forest on it, and just go to town. Put that transmission in the park and just plink away. And it's not really plinking, it's throwing freaking Gauss rifle rounds downrange. Yeah, solid sniper tank right there. Okay, let's take a look at the list as a whole. So the Rampage is a bit of a brawler. You do have some pokiness. It's skirmisher is what it says right there, and I couldn't agree more. You're gonna want to be closing the gap with this thing and utilizing that mask to run for 8 hexes on an 85 tonner, We get this on an objective, and there's nothing that's going to want to get into toes, or, you know, that's going to want to step on its toes, because it's going to step back and it's going to hurt probably more than they will. The Dragoon is another solid sniper with those LBXs, ERPPC. And then you've got 1, 2, 3 fast tanks that can gather objectives for you. The Kanga can jump just to get over some weird terrain if that comes up. And the Alicorn as one of the best snipers in this little meta that we're building here. Maybe not as good as that Night Star, but I would say at almost half the battle value, it's a good bargain. At bare minimum, 1,000 battle value less. It's a pretty damn good bargain. Yeah, this list, sorry Tweezer, is also not going to be getting any bids from me, just because the Rampage is good. The Dragoon is good. The Kanga is good. The Harrier, the Beagle, they run objectives good. The Alicorn is scary. It's a solid list, which means no bids out of me. I don't think there's a weak point to this list. It's going to be contesting objectives early and late, for that matter, with the Rampage. So yeah, good list here, Tweezer. Well put together. Last for right now, and probably this video, and definitely not least, is Faye, who's a newer member, or at least new to the events that we've been running, because I don't recognize their name, coming in with a Star League regular list. I just happened to pull this paint job up because it just said like one of the Star League cores. I guess I could do parade markings too. But yeah, this one was actually going to get some bids for me until Brad decided to open his mouth up and say he's going to be throwing bids at it because there's an urban mech, which I already knew more than likely Brad was going to throw a couple bids this way, but he said he was going to heavily bid for this list, so I'm going to let him have it. Unfortunately for the urban mech. Well, fortunately, more than likely, just because Brad's really good at using this urban mech that he brings almost every single time he can. Speaking of the urban mech, let's go ahead and pull it up. This bad little trash can is coming in at 30 tons, and it's 847 battle value because it's at skill 2-3. Yeah, let that sink in. This is an elite urban mech pilot. It's got the standard trash can 232 movement profile, all 11 heat sinks that it's got there, standard 60 rated fusion engine, and it's got 96 out of 105 armor. So pretty tanky for a little round boy. And it's got a small laser in the left arm and an AC-10 in the right arm with only 1 ton of ammo, because that's all you need. This is the one time I would not recommend bringing precision ammo or AP or anything funky that's going to lower the number of shots you bring, because you need to make all 10 of those shots count, and more than likely you will have no shots for the first 3 or 4 turns just because you're moving so slow at 2-3. So the small amount of ammo is not that much of a liability in reality. Because by the time you get in range of anything, it's going to be at least 2 or 3 turns. So, but it's an urban mech, so you definitely got style points going for you. Up next is the Hunchback HBK-4G. This is the venerable, lovable AC-20 Hunchy. It's coming in at 50 tons at 1249 battle value. This is a 4-3 skill. I'm not sure why they went for 3 piloting. Maybe they want to get up close and personal and throw some fisticuffs or some kicks at opponents' ways. But it's got the standard Hunchback 4-6 movement profile, all 13 of its beautiful heat sinks, a 200 fusion engine, 160 out of 169 armor, so as armored as you're gonna get. for a 50 tonner. And it's got 2 medium lasers, an AC-20, and a small laser. And you do have 10 shots with that AC-20, so that's 2 tons of ammo in the left torso. So if that's one thing to watch out for with these ammo mechs, anything that goes into that torso is more than likely going to hit the ammo, because that's the only thing that's there. There's no weapon, there's no nothing. Maybe a heat sink is floating around in there, but that's it. So just watch out for your left torso, especially in the rear, because you've only got 4 left torso armor rear. So anything that's small and fast and agile can actually take you out with the medium laser if they get lucky. So definitely a good solid ambusher, but with how big and open the maps are, that 4.6 movement profile and short range weaponry may become more liability than anything, especially with that 4.3 skill. You're putting a lot of points into that and probably gonna not get a lot out of it in return. Next up is the Shadowhawk SHD-2H little b for the Royal Designator. This is a 55 tonner, as we all know and love the Shadowhawk. It's coming in at 1,489 battle value at 4.4 skill rating. It's a 5.8.3 movement profile because they couldn't squeeze in 2 more jump jets. It's got 11 double heat sinks for 22 heat sinkage total. 152 out of 185 armor, so not terrible, but not as armored as you would like to see. But considering the weapons loadout, I think I'll forgive it. It's actually got 2 medium lasers, 1 in each arm, an LB-10 in the left torso, and 2 SRM-2s, Streak variant, 1 in the right torso, 1 in the head. So it's got a decent amount of punch up close and personal, and you can poke with that LB-10 on your way in. So I can't really complain. And you have 2 tons of LB-10 ammo, so you can either double up on cluster or bring 1 ton of cluster, 1 ton of solid, and you've got 1 ton of Streak 2 ammo, which is far more than you'll ever need. You've also actually got case to protect that right torso, and since you've got a standard fusion engine, it's actually going to do something and keep the mech alive if your ammo does go up. So being a Royal variant has its perks. So yes, the right torso is a weak spot, but it's not going to spell the death of the mech. Just most of your weapons and 2 pilot hits. You'll still have a medium laser to zombie around with on your left arm, assuming you didn't lose that too. So a solid mech, actually. I'm not usually a fan of Shadowhawks, but this one I'll make an exception for. This is a good Shadowhawk. Next up is a Champion CHP-1N2. This is another 60-ton mech. So this is actually the first 60-tonner I think we've seen, now that I think about it. It's coming in at 1356 battle value, and it's also 4.4. And it's got a 5.8 movement profile, no jump in here, and it's got 10 double heat sinks for a total of 20. It's only got 143 out of 201 possible armor, so lightly armored for a 60-tonner, honestly. But it does have an SRM-6 in the left torso, 2 medium lasers also in the left torso, an LB-10 in the right torso, and 2 small lasers in the CT. So a decent amount of firepower. I mean, you do have that LB-10, which is nice and can poke. You've got the SRM-6 and 2 mediums for when you close the gap to 9 hexes. Not bad. And you also have Artemis 4 on that SRM-6, so most of those missiles are going to be hitting more often than not. So that's not bad. And you do have a full ton for that 1 SRM-6 launcher, so you do have a full 15 shots and 2 tons of LB-10X ammo. So mix and match to your heart's content between cluster and slug. A little lightly armored for my taste, especially for an only 5.8 movement profile, but not terrible, I would say. It's also not great, but it is a champion, which is a cool looking mech, so it's got style points going for it. And the last mech on the list, and definitely not the least, is the Highlander HGN-732 Little B Royal Designator. This is a 90-ton disgusting monstrosity from the HBS game, if you've ever played it. This is the one you get out of the SLDF cache. We'll say, sorry for any spoilers, but that game's like almost 10 years old now, so too bad. It's got a battle value of 2,569. So this is well over a quarter of your list right here. It's got a 353 movement profile, standard for a Highlander. 10 double heat sinks for a total of 20. 277 out of 279 armor. That is where all the rest of the armor on this list went. Never mind the Shadowhawk or the Champion, it's all on the Highlander. And it's got an SRM6 in the left arm, a Gauss rifle in the right arm. Now we're talking. An LRM-20 in the left torso and 3 medium lasers in the right torso. You've got 2 tons of Artemis capable ammo in the left torso with that LRM-20, which means we have Artemis 4, baby. And you've also got 1 ton of Artemis capable ammo on that SRM6. So both are rolling at +2 on those cluster charts. And you do have 2 tons of Gauss rifle ammo in the right torso. Yes, that is exactly how many you want to see per Gauss rifle. And this mech is disgusting. I've used it in the HBS game, and it is absolutely a monster. But that being said, it's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting to make up for what I would say the rest of this list is lacking in armor and a bit of speed. Honestly, because 5.8, 3 on the Shadowhawk, 5.8 Champion, that's it. I mean, the last thing on this list is a Rotunda scout vehicle, RND-J-1-11. It's a 20-ton vehicle coming in at 914 movement profile, wheeled, because it is basically a big old car, a big old 20-ton car. It's got 8 internals, a total of 17 armor. You have no turret. You've got a large laser and an SRM2 front mounted. So it's not defenseless, and it's not that quick for having only 1 fast boy. But it's not that slow either at 914. So you're going to be outpacing light mechs, but you're not going to be outpacing the fast hover vehicles. And since you're wheeled, you're not as bad as hover vehicles are on the motive crits, but you're not as good as tracked vehicles are on the motive crits either. So it's a weird middle ground. You can enter, I think, forests if you're wheeled. You cannot enter forests if you are... I think you might have to be tracked to enter forests. But yeah, either way, it's still not that great when you only have this one unit to get you onto objectives early. So, of the lists I've reviewed so far this time around, this one would have definitely gotten votes from me had I not already known that Brad, aka Deviant Id, was going to vote heavily for this list in order to secure himself his urban mech. So, solid, interesting list. You're going to have to rely on that Highlander to do a lot of heavy lifting. The Champion and Shadowhawk are still solid, but the urban mech and the Hunchback, I think, are liabilities here. And the Rotunda, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you only have the one, whereas every other list we've seen has at least 2, if not 3, fast boys that can actually get up there and get to objectives. So you're at a disadvantage there for any objective that requires speed, for sure. So yeah, I would have definitely thrown at least 3 or 4 bid points this way, because I don't get very many, because I'm Elite 2, if I'm not mistaken. I only get 17. And I have to make 5 bids. Yep, I get a maximum of 17 bid points. So I would have thrown at least 3 this way, just to throw a bid on it. But that won't be happening because I know Brad has thrown a lot at it already. This list, I think, is playing on hard mode. It's very fluffy, it's very flavorful, and it's got a lot of style, which I like. But I don't think it's going to perform well. Of the other three, I would say the easiest one to pilot to victory is likely going to be, well, Wolval's list with the Nightstar and SR-9J. That's a very solid, very scary temple. Followed by MechWarrior Lincoln's list. I expect Wolval to get a lot of votes for that Nightstar, specifically. Not to mention the Spectre and the Mongoose and the Crab. It's just a good, solid compound. I expect Tweezer to get a couple of votes for the Alicorn and the Kanga, not to mention the Dragoon, which is also solid. This Rampage is... And then I expect Lincoln to get some solid votes for the Rampage Marauder, and then having multiple objective runners. Another solid, well-built list. Of the three, though, I think Wolval's is a little bit more easy to run, more newbie friendly with that Nightstar doing a lot of heavy lifting just existing. And pulse lasers also don't hurt. Most of these other lists, I don't think we've seen any pulse lasers at all on any of these other mechs except that Nightstar. So one more thing to keep in mind. But yeah, that does it for this time around. Hopefully I'll see you guys soon, possibly again before the new year. If not, look for me in the new year, because I'm hoping to get more consistent with making YouTube content, even if it's not match casting, if it's just list reviews or talking about lists or talking about list building or talking about maps or what have you. You know, maybe we'll go over the maps that came in the Mercenaries pack next year or something. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Well, let me know what you guys want to see later on for more content, and I'll try and make it happen. For now, that's Jesty off for the night. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody. I'll catch you guys later.